You know, in Nigeria, when we say gas to power, it portrays that things happen seamlessly. It doesn't. Today, the weak link is still the power sector. And I speak as somebody that plays in both. There's still an illiquidity in the market that we need to deal with. There was an argument at the last gas conference whether the chain exists or the chain is broken. I think we left knowing that the chain really never existed.
If that liquidity problem starting from the discos primarily is resolved, then I think that anybody coming into the market would enjoy being part of the power solution for Nigeria. The demand is huge, and we're nowhere near meeting that demand. So the sooner more people come in, the quicker we can get more people that are educated about what needs to be done, getting involved in finding solutions for the entire value chain.
The sector in general has not been adequately invested in transmission, generation, distribution. Nigeria ranks, if I recall the numbers specifically, I think 178th among countries in the world in terms of per capita consumption of electricity. It's extraordinarily low, and particularly low given the fact that Nigeria has emerged as the biggest single economy in Africa, surpassing South Africa. So it's clearly an area where there's a lot of room for progress to occur. The previous president, the current president recognized the problems, but it's been a struggle to try to deal with it.
This is a country that's getting to be more than 200 million. And when it gets to 200 million, we are comparing ourselves to Brazil. And if we compare ourselves to Brazil, Brazil has over 100,000 megawatts. If our economy is to compare, and our GDP the same, so the transmission network has to carry that. So I mean, it's simple logic.
Our thinking is that rather than think about who is to blame, is to focus on the solutions that are inherent in the country, that are supported by our instant laws, and to leverage of these commercial solutions, incubate them, at least for a start, and see how that helps. I believe it's going to be a combination of solutions. You're going to have the IADNO, which is AKA mini-grid. You're going to have the embedded generation, which is supportive directly of the discos. You're going to have the grid-based power, which the federal government is setting up a power recovery plan for the entire power sector. It's a big plan. It's going to involve a lot of multilateral organizations, and this will take some time. So we preach this mantra that we are not competitors. We must be complementers. We must look for where we can share value. This is the only way, commercially, we can both light up the continent and profit from it.
I believe that we have to solve the transmission bottleneck in Nigeria. And there are many ways of doing it. Currently, the transmission company is owned by the government, whereas the rest of the sector has been essentially privatized or quasi-privatized because some of the GENCOs, the generating companies, have not been fully handed over to the buyers. But the process is ongoing. I think it's a weakness in our gas to power value chain that the government needs to seriously address. The fixing, the upgrading, and the expansion of the transmission system, and more than that, the ownership and commercial structure of the transmission system. Let the private sector take a leading role in that sector. But now with the additional increased wheeling capacity that's being rolled out, the transmission capacity of Nigeria is slowly going up. It was 5.5 gigawatts before. Now we're approaching maybe 6.57. That is good for everybody. It's good for the nation because more and more grid power is becoming available. It's good for the gas producers who have invested in capacity for more than 5 years.
Now that everybody is talking about gas, you will see a gas solution. But now we realize that we've made a mistake, we made a blunder, we didn't pay attention to it, we didn't even realize until recently our budget is, up to now, our budget is purely on oil. 2,000 barrels times 54 times this and that is oil. But we're going to be budgeting gas, not only LNG, but every source of gas.
One of the major issues we've seen is with the distribution companies known as the DISCOs locally in terms of their collections of revenue. We've seen many leakages on that side. And so there needs to be ways to guarantee and help them collect revenues more efficiently, more transparently, using and deploying metering technology on the one hand, but also ensuring that the mechanisms that allow them to make up for the funding gap because they're not able to collect revenues and therefore not able to service their own payment obligations to the generation companies, all of those funding gaps need to be plugged. But I think it's fair to say that there's no single stakeholder that can meet all the requirements, and it needs to be a collective effort. And we're seeing quite a lot of room and improvement in those areas as well.
The regulation today is not helping investors. To them, it's a red flag in their risk management. I believe the opportunity is huge if government can just be proactive and do things according to what the industry demand is. When you have infrastructure, good roads, rail planning, and power, industry will be on the increase. Job creation will be on the increase. And I think that's where we want to see Nigeria be.
I'd say the whole gas infrastructure is a good opportunity for investment, and companies are looking at it at the moment. The issue is still, if we can get the pricing right, then you'd see a lot more investment, because companies have actually been investing. I mean, Total just finished a huge gas pipeline recently. Oando is looking at building a gas processing plant. Even the NNPC is saying, look, we're also going to invest in one gas processing plant as well. So there's a huge opportunity there, because if you can bring it out, there are companies that need the gas, that are looking for the gas. You know, the only problem is always going to be the price.
The more we can get power out, the better for everybody, the better ultimately for the consumers, who are very annoyed that they're being asked to pay daily for something they don't get. We need to be able to plan, install, and operate our facilities at full capacity. And that's what we're hoping, that if the right policy initiatives are implemented properly with the engagement that is going on with government now, in the next few years, we're hoping to ramp up to that 200 million and stay there, at least till the field cannot sustain that level of production any longer. And that will be a good thing for Nigeria.